Well, hello, survivors. Hello, family and friends. This is Roy from Gucci Sweetheart's Guide to Life and Other Disappointing Experiences with a very important video, a little different from what I usually do, getting into some heavy subject matter. And I thought, raining for days and days and days, this would be a perfect setting. So as I said, this is an important video for me, and I know I'm going to lose subscribers because every time I talk about having a husband, the subscriber count goes down, but it's just too important this year to be ignored. 50 years ago this year, in June, I believe it was June, it could have been July. I'm old. The historians are going to get me on this one. I was just a college senior, so who remembers? A group of patrons in a bar in New York City who had been harassed and harassed and harassed decided they weren't going to take it anymore. And when the police came in to raid the bar, an ordinary neighborhood bar, the patrons decided not to comply, not to get into the paddy wagons, and to defy passively the police presence. It was the beginning of, as we know it, the LGBT civil rights movement. And I call it a civil rights movement because that's what it is. You know, I have been dealing with so many people saying to me, well, why don't we have a straight pride day? Why don't we have a straight pride march? Well, parade. Believe me, in my mind, Pride marches are the appropriate word. We've turned them into an entertainment spectacle, but they are a political statement. And my response to them is, when they say, why do you need a gay pride day? Well, I say, why do you need a straight pride day? Because you have a gay pride day. Well, it seems to me that if you are ever denied housing because you're straight, heterosexual, then you need a parade, you need a march, you need a riot. When you are denied marriage because of who you love as a heterosexual, then you need a straight pride march. When you're denied adopting children because of who you are, your heterosexuality, then you need a straight pride march. When you're denied a cake being made because someone's religious beliefs prohibit them from associating with you, even though they're in a public service business, and it's because of your heterosexuality, then you need a march. And when you have politicians from the very highest in the nation, and preachers from Rome down to the local churches condemning you, and some wishing you dead, as good holy Christians would, then you need a pride parade. A straight pride parade. No, you need a straight pride march. And that's where I am right now. This is very difficult for me because I'm always placing myself in jeopardy, and sometimes I don't know when I should and when I shouldn't open my mouth. And I know this is going to be controversial to some of my subscribers. And let it be known that friends have my back, enemies don't. People who love me have my back. People who don't love me do not have my back. So, you know, what happens, happens. As I progressed in this civil rights movement, I realized that people have to talk up. You know, the Ayatollah in Iran once said, well, we don't have any gay people in Iran. And I went to a senior center in a very, shall we say, liberal area of Long Island. And our group was trying to address the audience, give people some information about who we are. Oh, we don't need that. We don't have any gay seniors. Meanwhile, we heard from quite a few afterwards. So at some point, I decided it was time for me to be active in this arena, since I'm by nature sort of an activist kind of person. And it was for my civil rights, for my life, so my car doesn't get damaged anymore. So I'm not called names by some of my neighbors, which does happen. And you'll see in a moment, still happens. And you'll see why I find this very, very important. 2 years ago, and I'll show you the video in a minute, we have, as you can probably see, a rainbow flag every June, because June is Pride Month, flying outside of our home. Wait till you see what a child who was not trained as a God-fearing child, as a respecter of persons, did, just because he saw this flag. So it was a pleasant summer evening, right about dinner time. John saw a head going by the windows in the front, and we didn't think anything of it, you know, with Amazon and all the deliveries we get. But later on we decided to replay our security camera, and we see this youngster, teenager, pull up with a bicycle. You'll notice he stopped kind of short, a short stop, and he walks over to our property. He's got his cell phone camera out. I don't know what happens here. He goes behind the driveway. There's another car there. We checked to see if it was damaged or anything. It wasn't. I mean, he's obviously trespassing. He comes out, records himself spitting on our flag, and going back to his bicycle. After a while, my blood boiled. We went to the police. They were very, very understanding and supportive, but there was very little they could do because we really couldn't identify the boy. Well, long before this incident, it was my goal to let people know that there are gay people around. I'm using the term gay because I'm old. The kids are using queer. I can't use the word queer. Oh, it is so difficult. And LGBTQ is now the catch-all, although I think it's eventually going to evolve into queer. For me, I'm still dealing with who I am. I'm a gay man. It occurred to me that I have to be visible. If Iran doesn't have any gay people, darn it, people are going to know that I'm gay and that there are people all over the neighborhood that are gay. And I was thinking that brings a very powerful statement. If you know that your cousin, if you know that your uncle, your aunt, if you know that your teacher's brother, not that everybody flies the rainbow flag, but if you know that, it makes us more human. There's nothing different now that you know that I'm gay, compared to when before you didn't know that I was gay. Same person. So I got very, very, very activist, I guess you would say, in a mild, well, not a very, a mild kind of way. I do workshops and conferences. We have a wonderful organization, a couple of organizations on Long Island that advocate for us, and I'll share some of that information, some of those experiences. I'll share some of this. I'll give you a little taste of what I do besides sewing and crafting and fishing and gardening and all those things that make me happy, and activism which makes me satisfied.
From the beginning, one of my goals was to break down some of the stereotypes that people see as men's traditional activities. I couldn't think of any better way than to take my crocheting and take it public, and I do it wherever I can, whenever I can, and it is received so well by others. I get wonderful comments. Here on Long Island, we have an umbrella organization called the LGBT Network, and it really services LGBT people from, I always say, womb to doom, because it's from children to and through LGBT elders. My association started with them 12 plus years ago. I've been volunteering ever since as the organization has grown and grown and grown. And I can honestly say that the LGBT network has literally transformed and changed my life. It has given me a purpose. It has balanced out my activism, and most importantly for me, as a former teacher, it has kept me relevant and connected to the educational system. As a teacher and a school administrator, I have my share of workshop presentations, conference presentations, and being associated with the network has given me such an opportunity to keep doing what I feel is necessary to do and what my career had trained me for. In 2012, the first of its kind PTSA, the first of its kind in the nation, was chartered by the National PTA organization. The Long Island Gay PTSA advocates for safe schools for all students. We advocate for bully prevention programs and more. And we serve as a resource for LGBT students, for parents, for staff. I was honored to serve as co-president for 2 years of this wonderful organization. Well, being visible has its advantages and disadvantages. And one of the disadvantages is that you become known to people who are in the media, and on occasion will ask you for information for an interview and tell you a story, and that can be nerve-wracking, knowing that you've put yourself out that far, especially in this day and age. Well, certainly it's not all serious business. Actually, there's much more fun involved than serious business. And we're coming upon the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots, and we are having a 3-day festival on the beach in Long Beach, New York. Of course, it will start with a parade, as all good events should. We'll have fun with friends, food, and family, entertainment of all kinds, and it's called Pride on the Beach, and I'm so looking forward to it. It attracts literally thousands of people. There'll be a special tribute to the victims of the Pulse shooting. where surfers go into the water and throw flowers in. A couple of years ago, there was a boat parade, and you see our little boat on the right lower. We had such a good time, and that was 2 years ago, I believe, and just such fun. But another part of the network has to do with taking care of us who are older. As most of you know, I'm in my beginning of my 70s, and loneliness can play a part in how we feel about ourselves and our health and mental well-being, and the network has taken care of that. They have programs of all sorts for people in their senior years, and it's just a wonderful organization. I find myself so very, very busy.
Lastly, I want to talk about getting older in our country. Ageism is terrible, terrible. One of the worst isms there is, because we, as older people, become more vulnerable, more fragile, more, pardon me, cheers and chin chin, serious topic. We become more vulnerable. As you know, the news is full of the scams and whatnot. We are ignored. We are pushed aside just because we're old. Overlay that onto the fact that we're LGBTQ people, and the situation is much more dire. I am so blessed. Sorry. I am so blessed to have a husband of 39 years, 2 wonderful daughters, 5 beautiful grandchildren. I have a support system. I have a family who loves me. I do not feel alone. I do not feel ignored. But I am the exception to the rule in many, many places for older gay people. And a Stony Brook University student, Taylor Alessi, Taylor Alessi, who gave me permission to use his video, made a video on ageism in the LGBT community, and I was a part of it, honored to be a part of it. And I want to just share with you this video so you can see some of the concerns and some of the fears and some of the bright days ahead for, at least on Long Island, LGBT seniors. Take it away, Taylor.
Long Island's first LGBT-friendly 55 and older housing complex is coming to Bayshore, an answer to a long-standing problem faced by LGBT seniors.
As you get older and you don't have family, I'm fortunate I do, but you don't have family, that people reject you, isolate you. Where do you go? What do? You go to one of these places where as soon as they find out you're gay, you're excluded, you're berated, you're made fun of. That is not for me.
Sage Long Island, a part of the LGBT Network, holds weekly mingle events to integrate LGBT older adults in a relaxed environment over discussion. Lynbrook resident Roy Schmidt attends these events at the network. With getting older, he said he would never consider facing discrimination in a mainstream senior facility.
Going back into the closet for work was awful. To think that I'd have to do that in the years when I'm supposed to be enjoying myself, having to worry about what time dinner is instead, I can't go back.
LGBT seniors often have a unique need for housing. According to the advocacy group Sage USA, they are likely to live alone without children, making social isolation more common.
A lot are gone because of the AIDS crisis. So we kind of found ourselves almost isolated, even though we were friendly with so many other people. Because just getting old is a target anyway, and being gay makes it even more of a target.
Experts say they notice a generation gap when it comes to LGBT acceptance.
My experience is going into the non-LGBT aging spaces and talking with seniors themselves about LGBT and the providers. There are a lot of people who just don't get it still. They think it's no big deal, but when push comes to shove, they really don't know what they're talking about.
The housing complex is being marketed as LGBT friendly, but not exclusively.
The LGBT community, it's a sense of feeling safe kind of thing. But you do hope that you can open it up to straight society too, because you want to be part of that, you know. Yet it's hard because some people just don't accept you for you being gay.
I hope it attracts the right people, the people that are in need, because there's definitely a need for senior housing, and yes, the LGBT community itself needs housing like anybody else. You shouldn't just isolate the people.
Roy Schmidt says that he's comforted to know that LGBT-friendly housing will be there for him.
Having a place like this to go to might be on the radar. You know, currently I'm married. We've been together 37 years. And we're looking to sort of die together. But one of us is going to pass before the other. And then I think I see that becoming more of a possibility.
The housing complex will break ground on this land right behind me with a projected opening for 2020. For the Stony Brook News, I'm Taylor Alessi.
So this video was, of course, very, very different. I'm not here to offend anybody. I'm here to maybe shine a light on some other lifestyles, some other people's day-to-day living, and not to make more of a statement than, you know, I'm flesh and blood. I bleed, I cry, I like Korean food, I like Italian food, a sfegadelle we had the other night, so good. And you can say that in 40 different ways. Even in Italy, it's not pronounced the same way. And all we want is a place at the table, a place of peace. And by the way, the New York City police commissioner, issued a public apology for the raid in 1969, and I think that was wonderful. And on top of that, the United Methodist Church is dealing very heavily and very seriously with the issue, and our annual conference of New York is leading the way on full affirmation of LGBT people. So in any case, I hope you take something from this. It would be sad to lose you as a subscriber. I can't say anything else. It would be sad to lose you. Thank you for viewing and sticking with it this long. If I have the effort and the energy, I'll add some silly, silly pictures of Bootsy Sweethearts, other life, other persona. Just having fun. Listen, we come around this one time. We do not repeat this. Oh God, I don't want to repeat this life. And if you don't laugh, if you don't have a good time, shame on you, because that's what it's all about. Loving each other, loving nature, having a good time, and being proud of who you are. Thank you. And as Nancy Zeman would say, well, let me do that correctly. Well, no, she didn't do this. Shh, our family would be shocked. Bye for now.